Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and a brand new video on Marvel Contest of Champions. In this video, we're going to be looking at the classes of certain champions. I've got 12 in mind that I don't think are particularly right with regards to the placement in their class structure. And I'm not the only one who's kind of raised these kind of concerns with these champions. A lot of player base do think that there's kind of inconsistencies with source material against what Kabam have put into the game. So what we're going to do is identify those champions and then have a look at the source material and kind of extract some things that maybe justify the case of why they are what they are in the game. And maybe that the other ones we might say, right, well, there's definitely changes that have to be made to that champion. So let's look at the facts. There are 6 classes, as we know. You could say that there's a 7th if you count things like the elders of the contest, your grandmasters, your collectors, and in some regards maestro, but that's again just a very airy-fairy thing. So let's just call them the kind of 7th unknown class. But obviously for the purpose of this video, we're just going to focus on the 6 classes that we know. Cosmic, Skill, Mystic, Tech, Mutant, and Science. And obviously it's not us the players that make up the rules with regards to champions included into Marvel Contest of Champions. Kabam make it very clear that when they put a champion in, they justify the case of why that champion or character from Marvel is being put in the way they are. Sometimes it may be in line with source material, other times it may be a little bit different than that. And the other time, it's then difficult for Kabam then to kind of represent the class that's associated with the source material with something they have in game. But that being said, there are a lot of things with regards to the player base who think that maybe the source material isn't being represented within the game. Likewise, maybe fans of the cinematic universe then feel that, hey, well, I feel that this champion should be different when they're in the game. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to pick 12 champions which players recognize as needing either changing or question their classification in the game. Right, so I've got my champions here. Let's kick things off with an easy one. This is Falcon, and Falcon's one that people compare a lot to Star-Lord in that they use similar things with regards to flight, but obviously Star-Lord has different things with regards to hand pulse cannons, as well as the levitation is done by boots based on something that he kind of straps to the bottom of them. The next thing is then like a helmet type thing that comes up from like press. But a similar thing could be said really for Falcon, because he does similar things, controlling of a drone. So a lot of comparisons can be drawn, and a lot of people still question why he is a skill over being a tech. With regards to his source material, there's a lot of blurred lines with most comic books, but the main kind of scheme coming through is that when he got powers to communicate with telepathically with birds, that kind of like was implanted skill that could be harnessed with that. But with regards to any kind of generic comparisons here, there's really none. With regards to like how he came to fly, that was it was aided by Black Panther. So this makes it really difficult to kind of pinpointing anything other than a tech. Obviously he's not skill based on no powers being granted to him. So in fact, he should be a tech. Next up is KARNAK, and a lot of people will feel very passionately that he should be cosmic as opposed to skill. And there's good reason to kind of doubt that, but at the same time, I see everybody's point. And also Kabam do a very clever thing with regards to balancing both books. The first thing is if you've got Medusa and Black Bolt, they were exposed to the Terrigen Mists, which then mutate them in a certain way to make them a little bit more powerful, enhancing abilities that they may slightly have had. It really just depends on like the genetic side of things. Where it comes to KARNAK, basically his father put their firstborn son through the Terrigen Mists. His mutation didn't work so well, and it rendered him incapable to function outside an aquatic environment, which is obviously very damning, as you know, terrible. Not to, if like you were from Atlantis to kind of go out of the water like Aquaman, you'd be impeded from that. So that's a bit disappointing. So his father thought, right, well, I'm not going to put my son KARNAK through this, and as a result it was all about enhancing his abilities that he had and making him more powerful based on a skill based system. And obviously Kabam have recognized that, and that's why he is half skill, half cosmic, which is a nice little touch. So I do to a degree agree that he should be either skill or cosmic, but still retain that skill and also that cosmic. So I'm to a degree pretty happy with this choice that Kabam did. Next one up is THOR RAGNAROK, and this is something that is of an argument. Apart from the fact that Thor in general, THOR RAGNAROK, looks like he's about to wet his pants, the main thing is that, you know, people will go, right, he should be cosmic, and to a degree I do actually agree with that. This kind of alter Thor really implies that we've kind of skipped all that kind of cosmic nonsense and he's just without power. and on here. So I think that's maybe the edge that Kabam were going for, like saying, oh yes, so he is less powerful without Mjolnir, so therefore he is in more of a skill-based format. He has to utilize his skills with other things rather than being a cosmic being. However, the pure fact is he could have tapped into any kind of thunder-based powers, so therefore he should be still retaining that cosmic line. Next up is Unstoppable Colossus. This is another questionable one, based on the fact that, yes, okay, he looks a lot like Juggernaut, and at the same time he is Colossus. So therefore, wouldn't he be a mutant? And that is something that even Kabam have kind of addressed, and I've got a video which is in the description, which is secret characters of the game. And this goes back last year, where we kind of saw that this champion has actually been built as a mutant champion. As we can see here, I think that when Kabam were trying to create Unstoppable Colossus, they had to really consider what class they were going to be putting him down as. But I think how they're working it is that this is through mystic manipulation from the Crimson Band of Sitarak, which gives Juggernaut his powers as a mystic. I think it's a pretty good touch with regards to the choices of this being a mystic, based on that final little manipulation from that ruby gem, which then obviously makes Juggernaut change, which in some ways then has made Colossus Unstoppable Colossus. One major criticism I do have about Unstoppable Colossus and Juggernaut with regards to utilization of this build power, which is by my head, which is there, that's Sitarak. So obviously that is mentioned. There should be a healing factor within there, so there should be some regeneration with both champions in that case if they're accessing that power, firstly. And secondly, they should be poison immune. That is what the extent of that power allows. So that change should really be done. Either way, I approve these as being mystic. Next up is Yondu, and a character that obviously we identify as being tech. But a lot of people do say that maybe this champion should be cosmic, based on the small, and it is a kind of a small change with regards to technical enhancements for this champion, in that obviously we've got this kind of head fin, which then allows him to use a arrow which is tuned to something within obviously the brain, that he's then able to elevate the arrow and allow it to kind of go at any kind of trajectory and movement to impale and kill theoretically anything that it comes into contact with. The argument could be, in comparison to other champions like, say, Gamora, who is, yes, a cosmic, but she has had slight technical advances to her, which obviously may not be seen from an aesthetic level, but with regards to an internal level, may be there. And that could be the biggest thing with regards to improvement of strength and agility, with regards to bone structure being enhanced by technical aspects, that the comparison could be there. You know, why isn't this champion, because he is 95%, you know, cosmic, but only 5% with regards to a technical augmentation? Like, what is the fine line behind judgment of this? Now, if we compare this with any kind of source material, it will be noted that Yondu is more of a natural cosmic, based on the fact that any kind of alterations with trajectory of the arrow are actually produced through a special metal, which was allowing every arrow of the centurions, of the people that he's associated with in a cosmic sense, to then, you know, alter the kind of movement of the arrow by whistling. The metal obviously understood the whistle that the centurion was sounding, and then they were able to use that with a bow. So basically, how it is now, tech is correct based on what this is, but with regards to a more authentic Yondu, then we're looking at cosmic. So for the purpose of Marvel Cinematic Universe and Kabam putting this into the game, this is technically correct as tech. And sticking with the Guardians of the Galaxy, another very questionable one is Nebula. There may be some people that may say that, hey, well, isn't she cosmic because Gamora's cosmic? I think this argument is based on the kind of android state of this particular champion and character. At the point of coming into Marvel Contest of Champions, she is more of a cyborg than she retains of any kind of cosmic physiology. So it's like saying that if 99% of her is android or kind of robotic, and only the 1% is of her natural cosmic body, then more than likely she is then of tech than she is of cosmic. And that's really the fine line to it. If they said that she only had like a minor alteration with regards to her body structure as whatever dwelling of whatever creature on whatever planet, then she obviously would be more of cosmic based on the small enhancement. But it is a case that she is tech, and unfortunately that's just how it is, and seems more fitting and right. Obviously we've seen the movies, we can understand that every time she gets punched in the face and her jaw dislocks, she's able to lock it back into place quite swiftly, so she is definitely a tech. Next champion up to the plate is Moon Knight. This is one that a lot of people have questioned based on the kind of changes that the character went through with regards to association with ancient Egypt. Although Moon Knight hasn't had any kind of major magical powers associated with him, he has been kind of altered and changed the same way Juggernaut has in order to make him a mystic, comparably with powers he should get as a result. It isn't, like I said, magical, but with regards to improved strength, even going through to say like pain resistance, and as well we've got healing factors in there, so it's you know, it would be nice to kind of like see some of those things coming onto the game. And Kabam themselves thought that, you know, we'll make him a mystic. They had plans at some point to make him a mystic, as you can see from this. This is taken largely from, I think, an MCOC mods video from back in the day, where he actually got to go in and have a look at all these champions that Kabam haven't released, or, you know, it's kind of like a mods account. So it does show a lot of kind of interesting developments that that they've done. So look at the video, obviously the link is in the description. So even though we've got this kind of magical change with regards to his signature ability and the stuff with regards to lunar activity, I do think that this champion should be changed to a mystic. Next up is Loki, and a lot of people will kind of question, like, you know, should he be cosmic based on, you know, he's an off-worlder. Okay, so let's look at this way. Loki is from birth from Jotunheim. When it comes to his association with Asgard, there's so many different comic book sources that kind of changed his whereabouts. The kind of main thing with regard to telling us how he enhanced his mystical powers is a very difficult one. There's a very fine line to it. All we really know is that he uses so many different things, like he does astral projection, which is a very mystical based trait. So a lot of the things he does, for whatever reason that we can't explain, does represent a very mystical presence, the way that we've got Mordo and Doctor Strange. So it is very difficult to kind of put him into a different case of affairs with regards to saying, right, he is cosmic based on him being an off-worlder, but with regards to his powers and what he does is incredibly mystical. So this is a very difficult argument to kind of win from both sides of the spectrum. Either way, I'm happy for him being a mystic. We could say that whilst he was the adoptive son of Odin, that Odin's wife, you know, decided to kind of train him in more mystical arts, as we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That could be something that could be represented in that. It's a very difficult argument, but like I said, I'm happy with the fact that he uses intense mystical powers and is a mystic in the game. Okay, so here we go with the next champion. It is Blade. It's one of my favorite champions at the moment in Marvel Contest of Champions, and people are saying either mutant for this guy, mystic, or retaining the skill which he is at the moment. So let's talk about mutant. I think that if we're looking at the vampiric line and we're looking at genetics through that, and with regards to blood manipulation and kind of changing and altering, mutation has a good stance and good argument. The downside is with Marvel Contest of Champions and the way it's situated is that if it's not an X-Men, it's not a mutant. So that's that. It can't be a mutant because it's not an X-Man. But obviously the same thing, you know, with regards to being a mutation is kind of correct in some regards. When it comes to Mystic, which is the next point, people will say from the sources and with regards to the way that he is altered through genetics, and also the main thing with like with Dracula, Drake, whatever you want to say with regards to that, you could say yes, right, so he is a mystic. But one thing that I really back is kind of going down the middle, and obviously stripping apart the mutant and the mystic thing, we've got skill, and that's fine based on that. You know, if you go do too specific with regards to that stuff, it's not there. They're kind of focusing on the skill aspect, and with regards to his skills, which obviously are enhanced through vampiric association, he's still using skill based stuff in order to kind of get through and fight and things like that. So in order to kind of make everyone's camp happy, let's put him as that. We've got too many mystics and too many mutants at the moment, you know, and we're probably going to get more of each. So let's go, he's a skill, in order to kind of increase that skill line. Okay, Scarlet Witch is up next, and it's probably the most confusing champion and character to explain a lot of the backstory and comic book history, source material, and then comparing it in the game. So let's talk about the facts of what we know. So Scarlet Witch is a mystic. We also know that her name is Wanda Maximoff. And obviously the next person we know as Maximoff is Magneto. And a lot of people, and even myself, draw the conclusion, obviously, that he is the father of Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. And obviously her powers are exponential. As a mystic, it's absolutely fantastic. But there's a lot more to the story that meets the eye. So what we know is right in the very beginning, her and her twin brother, obviously Petro, which is obviously Quicksilver, who we'd like to see in the game, by the way. So they are taken away by the High Evolutionary and they are experimented on. And obviously things don't go well. So what they do is then they abandon these two twins. And obviously as they get older, they're kind of disenfranchised with the world and go on their merry way and adventures. And for a time, everyone believed that Magneto was the father of these kids and obviously were of a mutant genetic descent. Everything in that story changed in 2014 when it was agreed and obviously given out that we were going to see that Scarlet Witch and as well as Quicksilver were actually humans that had been experimented on and led to believe that Magneto was their father, which is just completely batshit crazy and doesn't really tie in Scarlet Witch to being a mutation of any kind. This then presents a problem with regards to why Scarlet Witch would be a mystic, and there's loads of different comic book sources to say that there was this thing with an old lady who came and then changed things with her and kind of then made a kind of then a more of a mystical based person. And likewise then looking at the Quicksilver argument being that, well, when he comes, or if he comes into the game, should he indeed be science based on scientific manipulation of him in order to be improved, because he wouldn't be a mutant based on that unless we talk about a different golden age argument against the current day argument with regards to the storyline. This is a very, very difficult time, and there's a lot more complex than I thought when first off going, yeah, she should be either be a mutant or a mystic. But then with regards to if they put Quicksilver in, then the argument is, should he either be mutant or should he be science? And obviously that would be an argument, I think, for the comments section, as well as maybe a forum post. Should he be mutant or should he be science? But I think Scarlet Witch with regards to Mystic, I'm pretty happy with. I'm going down this BS route of whether or not she should be a science or a mutant is something for another day, but let's just settle with the fact that she has mystical based powers she utilizes, so therefore she is a mystic. Right, now I've saved the best two for last, which puts us up to our 12 mark. Number 11 is this one here, which is the Yellow Jacket, and obviously this one goes hand in hand with Ant-Man, who we're going to discuss as the 12th, in that how does this set out? Because mainly this champion as well as Ant-Man should be tech based on the advancements that has currently happened to a degree. Why this is such a big issue for me, as well as the community not really kind of addressing the fact that he should be tech, is that Kabam actually thought that he should be tech in the beginning. From my video, I've picked out this kind of still here, which is of an Ant-Man that is indeed a tech. And that is really the big problem I think Kabam had. You know, what do they associate this Ant-Man as being? And this goes hand in hand with Yellow Jacket, in that, do they say that the Pym particles are the main reason for the champion having any kind of technical power to then be able to utilize that to then theoretically go into the microverse or into a smaller kind of shape and form? And I guess that's a difficult point to kind of argue. Do you need the Pym particles over the technical enhancements of the suit, or do you need the technical enhancements of the suit over you needing the Pym particles? The Pym particles we would say would be science, and then the suit would obviously be tech. So we've got, again, this difficult balancing act of where we place the champion. As Pym particles seem to be the main thing with regards to granting anything with regards to change, I would probably say that the biggest selling point about this being science is that it's all on the particles, baby. It's not about the suit, it's all about the particles. Because obviously we see certain devices being used in the films as well as in the comic books where Ant-Man is utilizing different things, but obviously we need the particles first to make the alterations in a scientific perspective. So I think that's the argument there, and I'm pretty happy with that being science. It is a very difficult one to kind of win the argument for, and I would agree that there is more of a misbalance between tech and science. Very difficult one, but my own personal thoughts getting into this is that I feel it should be more science, and I'm happy with the decision that Kabam made with this champion. So that's it, guys. This is my 12 champions Kabam got wrong or right in Marvel Contest of Champions. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Obviously, if you did, I'd appreciate a like for this, and also, you know, comment on maybe things that you disagree with. That's perfectly cool, and I think it's good to then add that to maybe to a forum post and kind of give that feedback to Kabam. And obviously, if you want to watch the video, Secret Characters Revealed, then go to the link in the description. It will then take you to this video. And don't forget to follow me on social media. Links are pinging up over there. And yeah, thanks very much, and I shall catch you on the flip side. Bye bye for now.